Around a year ago, on April 20th, I received a phone call that would change my entire life. At this point in time, I was working very hard on my finals, doing everything I had to do to pass all my classes, like any other day. Suddenly, I received a call from my mom. She told me that my brother had tried to commit suicide, that during that night, he had jumped out of the window of a fifth floor of a building. I was in shock. I didn't know what to do or what to think. I ran to student advising in Berkeley, but no help was offered. The only thing that they told me was that I should withdraw from all my classes and no money was going to be refunded. Of course, this wasn't an option. I sent a letter to all my teachers explaining the situation. They all gave me incompletes and I was able to go back to Panama. But this is where the fight actually began. When I arrived to Panama, my entire family was together. Uncles, grandparents, and cousins. No one was missing. When I asked how my brother was, the news weren't that good. His hip bone was broken, and because of it, he had an internal bleeding. Also, his brain was affected, but they couldn't get to his brain until they stopped the bleeding on his hip bone. After 3 operations in 2 days, they were able to stop the bleeding. But then they realized that his brain was swelling, and swelling fast. He had to go back to the operating table. This time they had to open a hole in his skull so his brain had space to keep expanding. Sadly, this wasn't enough. On April 23rd, we were called from the hospital. There was a high possibility of brain death at this point. After a few hours, it was confirmed he was brain dead. But because of Panamanian law, we had to wait until his heart stopped beating by itself. This could take 2 days. April 24th was my mom's birthday. It was the saddest of her entire life. He ended up passing away on April 25th. One more victim of suicide. I had so many questions, so many doubts. I wasn't sure what was going on. I also was mad at everyone and everything. I was trying to find a villain, a why. But like everything in life, it usually is not that easy. This is my story. And if my story can help anyone or any family that is going through the same, or prevent somebody from going through the same that my brother went through, that will be enough for me. Hello, everyone. Thank you for listening today. So this part is less scripted than what you just saw, but here I want to talk about what I did for this event. So behind a smile, the reason of the name is because anyone that met my brother knew that he was always smiling. He was always a happy person. He was always very positive, at least in the outside. So I wanted to share with everyone that his happiness, his smile, the great times I spent with him, and to let everyone know that it's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to feel alone in this world. This is not an easy life, and it's easy to get lost. And this is why everyone should be aware of mental health, because at the end of the day, we can all suffer it, or somebody close to us can be suffering it. And if we're able to help those people by just asking things like, are you feeling well? What's going on? And you're able to help them, you can even be able to save their lives. So I did this event, Behind a Smile, is not exactly it wasn't big per se, but it had enough people, and everyone in there was very interested on it and took a lot from it. And for me, that's the most important part. It doesn't matter if one person show up or if 100 people show up. At the end of the day, the most important part is if you're able to save somebody's life or make somebody feel better. So thank you so much for hearing this, and now let's get into the event. Detrás de una sonrisa que hoy no está, detrás de una sonrisa que no supo hablar, detrás de una sonrisa que nunca paró de ocultar un miedo interior.
I attempted suicide twice. First time it happened, like I did reach out to my family, and I did say like, hey, I'm feeling real bad. But I think, I mean, I don't know how it is in Panama, but at least in Colombia, my family didn't really hear of mental disorders growing up, so they were really like what? You depressed? What do you mean? Just feel better. Like that's like and stuff, but. It ended up being to the point where I felt like, yeah, like, you know, I don't care anymore. So luckily, and I say luckily because I'm glad to be alive. Luckily, one of my friends found me when I did attempt suicide, and you know, it was a really horrible experience because, I mean, I witnessed the effect that it has on a family. Like, and even though it's not the same as actually like my family losing me, like I saw everything as it happened, and it was, I don't know, it sucked. But at the end of the day, I did come out stronger out of it. I did realize that there's a lot to live for. And even though I did attempt it twice, the second time, like, I still came out stronger, like way stronger than I was before then. And I can honestly say that, yeah, if there was a little bit more awareness from my family's part, I mean, it may not have gotten to that, but it happened, and I'm here, and that's why I study music therapy. That's why I do what I do, and I want to focus on psychiatry with music therapy, because I want to help people overcome what I overcame, because music helped me a lot. So that's how I started to overcome the suicidal thoughts and stuff. But yeah, so now I'm here, and now I'm working with people with psychiatric disorders, and I love it. I love being able to be a positive influence in someone's life, because I've been in that spot. You know, I've been at the worst, and I managed to come out on the other side. And I know a lot of us here have been maybe through similar events. So, I mean, all I gotta say, you know, is everything that they've talked about it's true. You know, sometimes all it takes is one question. And there was a particular time where one of my close friends in Miami, I mean, I would have never thought, but he, like, I don't know, I got the feeling that he might have been depressed, so I, like, just straightforward asked him, hey, are you fine? That's all I asked, and he, like, burst out crying and told me, like, he was, like, planning on killing himself and all that stuff. And like, all it took was that one question to get him to open up, and that was, like, 6 years ago, and he's one of my best friends, and he's alive today, and he's way past that, so. Yeah, sometimes all it does take is one question. I wasn't planning on talking, so that's all I got.
No, thank you so much, and I think that's really good. Like, thank you for sharing that. It's powerful.
Thank you.
So one of the things that we talk the most during this event is the difference between mental health and mental disorders. So I want to explain that more for the class individually. So the major difference is that mental disorders is more of a disease.
Um, so your mental health is just everyone has it. So some people has a better mental health. Some people have less, more affected and negative mental health. But mental disorders is far more when you already have a mental disability. So, for example, somebody that suffers of Asperger's, that my brother had, uh, that is a mental disability. You can have this and have a good mental health if you treat it, and like any other disease. So, for example, if somebody has cancer, if they are able to catch the cancer early and they don't let it develop, it's far easier to stop it. But if the cancer is found later on, then it's probably going to kill you. It's the same idea with mental uh, disabilities. People with PTSD, for example, when they don't have treatment, it can get worse and worse until the point that there's no turning back and they cannot see any other way out. And this is when things like suicide end up happening. So suicide is the when your mental health has been affected so dramatically by a mental disability that you don't see any other way out. When we get to the point of suicide is when it becomes a tragedy. And the reason that I call it tragedy is because there's ways to help people that are going through things like mental disorders. The problem is that a lot of us that do not have don't not have mental disorders, we see people with mental disorders when we don't know how they have it as, oh, they're dumb, oh, they're stupid, and or they're any other word that you can imagine. And usually these words really can hurt somebody because most of the time, I can say all the time, it's not true. It's not that these persons are dumb or stupid or any other thing. What it is that they're struggling through something. And if you ask them and you listen, which is the most important thing to do, to listen, do not judge. Judging somebody is never going to help them. It's going to make them feel worse. It's going to close themselves. You're going to make them close themselves instead of open to you. But if you just listen, they might tell you things that they wouldn't tell you otherwise. So when somebody tells you that they're struggling with something that for you it wouldn't be a struggle, don't think that is because that person is not trying hard enough. At the end of the day, they probably have a totally different wired system in their brain, the way they work, and they probably have some mental disabilities, which can make it very hard for them to surpass this. So trying to help them by listening, by helping them get help with with psychiatrists that can help them to combat these issues is the best way. Not to judge them, because when you judge somebody, you're not gonna help them in any way. My brother, he before all of this, he had Asperger's, and we didn't knew until January of the year 2018, and it was very hard for everyone to understand even what Asperger was. For us, it was just like, okay, whatever. I guess he needs to deal with it. That is the mentality of most people when it comes to mental health. If it comes to do with any other disease, for example, cancer or AIDS or any disease, people are far more like, oh, poor person, poor this. But when it comes to mental health, it's like, oh, just deal with it. That is the mentality for some reason. And that was also the mentality of the whole family when this happens, except for my sister, because she was studying to be a psychologist. But no one really took it that serious. And at the end of the day, he, with his Asperger's, made it so it was very hard to have a good relationship with the whole family. The past 3 years, we didn't talk that much. We talk once every 3 months, and we every Christmas or something, some type of fight would happen because he would say something that people would get pissed at, but it wasn't because he was trying to be mean. It's because he had a mental disability. And instead of trying to help him, we all judge him. And I think that influenced a lot the decision that he took at the end. So if in the future or right now you feel that you're in a similar situation where you are feeling depressed, or you think that you might have some something wrong with your mental health, or some type of mental disability, you should contact help, because that's something that we didn't do in my family. We didn't go and try to find professional help. And if anyone in the future, because of this video or because of the event that we did, save somebody else's life or save their own life because they find the right treatment, that will be a great win for all of us, for me, for this cause. Because that means that one more person is alive because they found the help that they needed, and we helped for that to happen, which is great. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again.
Julio's passing was one of the most shocking moments I've ever experienced in my life. It makes me realize the next person or someone that is thinking about that could be the person next to you. The last time I saw Julio was on my birthday. It just makes me wonder, what if I asked him, how are you? What's new? I don't know. It just makes me realize we need to talk to people. We need to be there with people. We need to make conversation and make a statement and talk about it without shame.
Those were the days, hard work forever pays.
I only knew Julio for about 2 years. Everyone always told me that he was a difficult person during his life. I remember that just a couple of months before all this happened, I started to have a closer relationship with him and started to know him a little more deeper. We talked regularly and we used to go to the karaoke every Friday because that was something that he used to love. I was happy that we were becoming closer until this suddenly happened. I constantly ask myself how good friends we could have been by now if he never took his own life.
What happened to my cousin Julio made me realize that everything is not what it seems to be. It is very easy to put on a smile on your face when all you really want to do is disappear forever. He was the oldest of my cousins, and the fact that he is no longer here with us is still shocking to me. I cannot put into words all the emotions and feelings I felt almost a year ago when all of this happened, but it made me stronger, and I thank Julio for all the memories and strength he gave me. I miss you.
It's gonna be almost a year that Julio passed, and I cannot put in words the emotions that I have been going through. Julio was always a different kid, but always such a good kid. Always sweet and quiet. It was hard to discover Julio's problem, which at the end we believe is Asperger. I have been feeling a lot of guilt and a lot of shame because I always knew that he was a little bit different than his siblings, and he was different than the average kid his age. But I couldn't know why, and I always thought it was because his dad and I divorced when he was 5, and I always blamed him on that, and he was the oldest of our kids. His brother and his sister was younger than him. They were almost graduating, and he was struggling tremendously. And again, like I said, we should have taken him out of school, but we thought that we wanted him to make the decision. But what we didn't know at that time was that he was trying to please his dad and me.
God makes us happy and allows us to be happy, but the decision is too personal. Julio was life motivator. So good that he set aside his own limitations. He sacrificed his own happiness in order to let the rest take it. While most people do not find their own happiness, Julio gave it. But not only we did not know, he just did not care, because his own happiness was fulfilled with the happiness of his friends and relatives around him. And when his life served and transmitted this beautiful gift, fulfilling the wish of our Lord, he found his stairway to heaven. And there he is, still making us happy with his permanent memories of his smiling face and musical notes.
I am really blessed to have had as much time as I did to spend with him. I can honestly say I don't have a single bad memory of a time where there was a difficult energy between us. We had an incredible relationship and we loved each other very much and laughed. And the huge lesson I learned from Julio is there's a huge part of people we never know, and that he had difficult sadness and demons inside of him that he never really learned to share with any of us. And maybe we could have helped him. We don't know, but we certainly would have all tried. He had a huge group of people around him and loved him very much. So I hope we can all take another lesson from Julio, besides the fact that there's a huge burden in all of us that on the outside we don't see it. While I'll miss him, I'm not going to let my emotions be negative when it comes to Julio. I'm going to remember all the good things that he gave to my life.
This year without Julio has been very hard. I miss him. He was a brother to me. He was my best friend. There's so many things I want to say to him, like, I love you. He was a great man. I always look for him when I need strength on a daily basis.
Literally, my brother from another mother. Loyal and sincere, he was my partner in crime. With a smile from ear to ear, no matter what, he was always there for his friends. Sadly, on April 2018, he was the one who needed help, and we couldn't figure out what was going through his mind. People take for granted the presence of their loved ones. If you ever feel someone could be thinking of committing an atrocious act, ask directly, listen closely, and show interest. Suicide can be prevented.
Pero ella nunca engorda.